My name's Lisa Panford, and I'm a senior lecturer and the course lead of languages education at the Institute of Education, St Mary's University in Twickenham. I am an active member of my university's Race Equality Charter self-assessment team and the co-founder and chair of a special interest group called Decolonised Secondary MFL with my professional subject association, the Association for Language Learning. Briefly, to kind of frame my personal approach to reading of a handbook, my own research has highlighted the distinct lack of academic interest in how our subject at secondary school reflects and compounds the racism that is deeply embedded in schooling. And I'm intentional about connecting theory to practice in order to amplify issues of race and racism in our subject, and feel that's necessary if we hope to realise the transformative potential of languages education and its contemporary relevance to all of our children in schools. And so at first glance of the contents pages, I was initially disappointed to see what I found to be an omission of the explicit reference, the notion of race in a handbook. Those concerns were addressed in the introduction, which explains that chapter headings or keywords were chosen to prompt criticality and creative reflection rather than instant and assured recognition around the issues. Naturally, as a teacher, I fully subscribe to the idea that the deepest insights are gained through asking the question rather than giving the answer. And in actual fact, the lack of signposting around the notion of race and racism had the benefit of provoking a more deeply engaged, connected reading of the text, because I was encouraged to draw my own understanding, experience, sense of purpose to make those connections for myself. So for me, the issues of race, racism, power, privilege were naturally foregrounded throughout the text. Moreover, this approach made me question a couple of things, like why had I previously been so willing to accept the idea that a big complex issue like race might be reduced to a topic area or a chapter heading in the first place? And also, while I was reading, a sort of internal narrative, wondering what other readers would be making of it all. And that's a useful process in itself. And this focus on common humanity through multiple lenses is what learning and teaching languages is all about. The fact that many of the essays in a handbook are underpinned by lived experience draws on a critical race theory tradition, which places value upon personal narratives and storytelling. And that resonates with me because in my work, I continually draw on my current experiences as a teacher educator and previous experience as a teacher and student of languages to highlight the complexities that people of colour face in the classroom. In the increasingly prescriptive context of initial teacher education, more specifically, resources like a handbook, which illuminate new narratives and perspectives, are particularly relevant. For example, I'll be signposting trainees to Peralta's reflections on bilingual education to deepen their understanding and inform their analysis of language provision and curriculum choices in schools, which serve to perpetuate the hierarchization of languages and the marginalization of so-called community languages in our secondary schools. And when we come to explore the challenges and opportunities presented by being and or teaching so-called native speakers in the context of the secondary MFL classroom, to Wells' exploration of identity, language, and community, to add critical and decolonizing dimensions to our trainees' exploration of the distinctiveness of our subject discipline, and we do that through the epistemic insight framework. I'll be signposting Burdett's chapter, which explores knowledge, privilege, and power. And I'll be revisiting that one myself when I embark on doctoral study soon. Vieira's chapter on the complexity of translation is particularly relevant for informing our discussions around making the case for languages in schools. And that's in the context of optionality at Key Stage 4 and the broader oppositional or usage-based discourses around the study of languages. Pelletzi and Starjak's explorations of translation provide helpful historical context and offer nuanced and critical definitions of this key practice. And that will be of particular interest to our students who elect to explore this pedagogical approach and its impact on pupil learning for their master's assignment. A handbook is so ambitious in its scope and refreshing in its approach to dimensions of our subject. Through the wide range of stories, it promotes space for reflection and rich dialogue about our multilingual, multicultural settings. And a handbook will be shared with my students on our programme in the hope that it will contribute positively to supporting them to in turn create safe and engaging learning environments for their transnational and critical young learners in schools.